one of the issues that a lot of us as Nigerians too, we have not paid attention to, was the 40 decision of the Obasanjo to nationalize every company in 1976, following the issues we have with Shell BP, if you remember in your history books. So that created a whole lot of distortion. And he said, all the people who came in to invest in those businesses, we chased them away. And they went away with their investment. And then we could not run it. And so the people who were growing skill in that area but didn't have money now started to see how they can survive with the skills they have. So that's where the issues of this micro mining started from. Because we actually had companies who were based in Nigeria and they were working on this mine. But the nationalization policy sent some of these companies away because we felt that we didn't need them and we could do the things by ourselves. And that happens in almost third world countries where people feel that, oh, we don't need these guys. We have the capacity to be able to do some certain things because investment in that sector is huge.
This is SOUQ Business Landscape. Now, Nigeria is facing a rising debt, repayment pressure in 2026. Now, Nigeria is set to face some external debt service pressures in this beautiful year of the Lord, as total repayment across Africa near $90 billion. Now, according to a new S&P Global Rating report, the agency said rising hard currency obligations are tightening external buffers and increasing refinancing risks for several sovereign countries, including Nigeria. Now, S&P noted that Nigeria's external debt profile exposes it to exchange rate shocks, higher interest costs, and rollover risks as global monetary conditions remain restrictive. Now, while recent foreign exchange reforms and improved reserve has boosted confidence, the report warned that elevated debt service could constrain fiscal space and limit spending on growth priorities. Okay, let's look at our budget. Our total expenditure is looking at 58.47 trillion. That's from the budget. Then projected revenue at 34.33. But specifically, the government has already said, okay, good and fine. This is how much we are going to spend on debt servicing. And that is about 15.91 trillion. Now, at the time of the budget planning and all that, what is it called? We're looking at being able to sell crude at 64 point something dollars, which is better right now. It's not that bad, like most people were forecasting. And we're looking at dollar at 1,004, which has also gone down. Are we looking at ability to be able to implement this so that a lot of these stories that speak and preach fear out there is well taken care of? We've not even talked about the taxing already. Taxing has not come into this, which has already started taking place.
You know, there are a lot of things that we talk about, which is the poverty around us, because we're a very poor nation, and which a lot of people have not come to accept, that Nigeria is a very poor nation, even though we have potential to be rich because of the abundance of resources that are around us. But they remain potentials because they have not been converted into liquid cash. So to that extent, we are still very poor. The entire budget of Nigeria, as of today, is about $40 billion. South Africa is about 500 billion in budget. Brazil is about 1.2 trillion in budget for the same fiscal year. Just to enable you to understand that we are so poor. So when you are looking at what are using debt servicing and it's becoming a problem, I don't think this is the issue. The issue is for us to deal with poverty first and foremost.
To deal with
the issue of poverty.
Is it, and just let's go back to your first submission. Is it issue of poverty or issue of lack of productivity?
Yeah, but it's the lack of productivity that is reinforcing poverty. Once people start to be productive, poverty will die. So that's why we have to be conscious as a people to deal with the issue of poverty. It's very important. You know, There are a lot of people who wake up in the morning, take their bath, go to work, and they constitute, to a very large extent, about 20 to 30% of our population, who currently don't earn the minimum wage. They are paid 50,000 in some places, 55,000, some 30,000, some 20,000 in a month. Below minimum wage. And like somebody argued, our minimum wage cannot even buy 1,000 units of electricity as we speak. So you can imagine the level of people who are earning less than 100,000 in a month in Nigeria. That's huge poverty. And we are kept in that shoe because we feel that, okay, maybe people just have to do those menial jobs to be able to scale or gain an existence. But there are alternatives, which, of course, the country must be looking at. I was so very, very happy when the president was campaigning and said he was going to create hubs, whether agricultural hubs, industrial hubs. We need to see those things working. We need to see beyond that people are tying roads. For example, industrial machines are imported into Aba, for example. So all we are shipping to other people in the world is beyond just this crude oil. We have good leather here that we can produce good belts, good shoes that can be sold anywhere in the world if we have the right tools.
If we have the right tools.
Yes, of course. So why won't governments at subnational level invest in those complexes where people can creatively do designs? I know of some people who are in Balogun market here who send design to factory in China to produce.
And that's irregular.
And they ship back to them. So which means the thinking is even actually from here. So you imagine that what we are doing right now, we are thinking design and we are shipping it to Aba and they are producing and it's coming back to this place. So that will, of course, increase the level of productivity. A lot of people get involved. And then, of course, that collective prosperity will take us up. Then we'll not worry too much about the debt burden or servicing of debt. Because as people are creating more money, government is earning more, then you are able to have a huge revenue coming in for you as government. Then these things that we are talking about, where it's $90 billion, is more money.
Okay. I like it when you say this as small monies. I like it. But now, let's come to you. 15.25 trillion. And let's look at where we are right now. We started January with oil falling, but as we speak right now, it's gradually stabilizing, yes, and it has gone above our benchmark. We started January with dollar above 1.4. Right now, it has
1.3.
It's gone 1.3. The only issues we are having right now is Bonga that is going to be short for the next less than 25 days, and they will be back on. But we also see some other oil blocks being opened for bidding.
Yes.
Are we seeing government realizing this budget, paying this debt service with ease? Mind you, like I said earlier on, tax has not been calculated into this, which means government will make more money.
Yes, that's even where I wanted to stress on tax. Okay. If we get the tax reform right, it will cover all the loopholes, because it's been projected that the people outside the tax bracket seem to be more than the people in the tax bracket. So if we are able, and people pay their tax, because tax is something that I wouldn't say people don't like to pay, but people just don't understand the benefit or the legal obligation of paying tax. So if we are able to cover that, and monies being moved from one account into the other are being monitored, so that you know that, okay, fine, if you do certain transactions, you're supposed to pay tax for it, and you actually go by yourself as a citizen, a patriotic citizen, to declare this is my asset. I think that also, if you look at the non-oil export revenue, that's another gold mine that needs to be tapped. what's happening in the mines
of investment. And currently, you don't even have money to do that investment. And people are also looking at people who want to come into those areas, and they are seeing the people who are already there, and the level of conflict that is in those areas is not also attracting a lot of people to come and say, okay, we want to invest, especially in a very fragile state like ours, where government is losing almost its authority to be able to maintain law and order. So these are the things that faces us. Those things are there. That's why they remain potentials. But politics, again, has added a lot to all our woes. Because if not for politics, there are a lot that we can do as government to stamp out insecurity or violent crime around us. And people are made to obey rules. But you see, because of politics, there are a lot of things we cannot do. And that's why a lot of people are asking, what's actually the value of democracy in Africa? Because it's not bringing to us the needed development that we require. And some people even advocating, maybe we have to create room for a monarchy or a benevolent dictator.
So what I was saying.
So these are the issues that people are, because it's a frustration.
A frustration that we've allowed to fetter.
Yeah, it's a frustration. I don't think you allowed it. It's the way liberal democracy is practiced globally. And everywhere you go to, you see, when after the 2020 election in the US, one of the things that Donald Trump was actually happening was the fact that the election was rigged. He lost all the cases in the court because he couldn't prove most of those things. But the things that he was saying were all true. That there were a lot of people who were voting who were not supposed to vote because the other party had used policies to move in aliens and illegal immigrants into their states, and then over voting this thing into their hands so they could vote. So that was why I was saying, can we do forensic and see whether the signatures actually tally with the original owner of these votes? So everywhere you find liberal democracy, there's a lot of manipulation that is going on because the people are more powerful because they are the one handing you power.
Okay. Go ahead.
All right. So back to what I was saying. Bayo Ononuga said that Nigerians are multidimensionally poor, and people always blame the federal government, that people should start looking into the states, because what are the states also doing? If states, we've talked about it on this table, that if states look inwards to some of the deposits they have in their own state, the local government and everything, they should not always rely on FAC all the time to run this thing. And with the new sharing of the electricity subsidy bill, I think some states will get to wake up. Lastly, prudent spending or wasteful spending. Government need to look into this. Both federal and subnationals, they need to cut down spending, because people don't always like it when you hear certain people are purchasing bulletproof cars, they are doing this, they are doing that, and
who are they shielding themselves from? That should be the question we should start asking. If any government person is using government money to buy bulletproof car, whereas the person that's paying the tax is not buying bulletproof car, who are you shielding yourself from?
Yeah, you see, they are highly exposed. And
exposed to what, sir?
Yes.
Exposed to what exactly?
Criminal behaviors everywhere.
Criminal behavior. Yeah. Their duty is to protect life and property.
But they don't have that capacity.
But they protect themselves first.
You see,
okay,
because they have the means.
Whose means? Our means.
Taxpayers' money.
Well, I don't know whether it's taxpayers' money, because
it's definitely not their money in the first place.
I don't know whose money anyway, but you see, if people can commit billions of naira
did you say you don't know whose money?
I don't know whose money. Because if people are committing so much money outside of office to contest and win elections, and they are putting that investment, and you can't call it taxpayers' money.